which is part of the system.componentModel.data annotations namespace that's up here. And what this will do will tell the framework that this field is required and this field is required when it's being used inside of a view. And so going back to our view now, in our view we tell it, hey, yeah, follow that model. This view uses this model. Now import a couple jQuery packs. One's called validate and one's called validate unobtrusive. The validate will do the actual working of the validation of the data, and the unobtrusive makes it so that when you look at the view source, there's no inline JavaScript added to the HTML source. In the next line we have at using html.beginForm. This is some Razor magic. These are called HTML helpers, and the begin form, it writes the opening form tag, HTML form tag, and then it'll automatically add an action, or yeah, the action will default to the same controller that we're already in, the same view. We can certainly point it to somewhere else if we wanted to. And it'll also use by default the method equals post type. And then we have these HTML helpers down here that actually builds the labels and text boxes and passwords for this model, the login model. And it uses Lambda expressions as a nice, convenient, clean shortcut way. We manually entered in the HTML for the submit button, and then we place this HTML helper validation summary. We could have opted to also put down here the HTML validation for message for let's say m.username, and when we do that, what we get here is a message specific for that property of the model. So if I do this, so see how we have this new message, the username field is required. That came from the validation message for HTML helper. If we view source, let's view source again. You'll notice that the HTML that's built uses these data-val attributes, and these data-val is what Razor calls the unobtrusive validation, data-val required, and there's a handful of others data-vals that come down for the ride automatically based on the data attributes that we specify here. For example, there is other data annotations. Let's just see. Let's just use a string length. This is kind of goofy for this situation for a login, but let's just say that the string length has to be at least 2 because I use JED as the hard-coded thing. So let's say that the username has to be 2. Alright, so let's build that. All I did was add the data annotation called string length, and the maximum length has to be 2. Oh wait, is that right? Yeah, the max. Let's say the maximum length is 4. I'm sorry, because JED is 3. Alright, so now let's build that. So now if we go back over here to our web page or browser, and I type in, let's just say, yeah, if I type in more than 4, notice how without submitting the page or anything, we have this client-side validation saying the field username must be a string with a maximum length of 4. And I entered in more than 4. And watch this, on the fly, by our client's side validation, it works, which is really nice. If we look at the view source now, or if we view the source, for the username, we're going to see a new data val or data dash attribute added, and here it is, data dash val dash length. The field username must be a string with a maximum of 4, and then a data dash val dash length dash max is 4. The point is that these data dash attributes that are added to the HTML elements is what MVC calls, or Razor calls, the unobtrusive JavaScript. There's no JavaScript in here. Makes it cleaner to look at, and as a developer, it's certainly certainly nice to have them build the hooks for us with the naming conventions, along with this jQuery.validate.unobtrusive-min-or.js pack. That's a Microsoft pack that they built for us to use. Okay, so where are we at? We built this view login page using HTML helpers, and then we created a layout page for anonymous users, which has nothing except this welcome message. And then we have a layout page that's going to be used by authenticated users, and it contains this menu here. And the hook for using properly using the correct layout page based on whether they're not logged in or not is defined right here in the viewstart.cshtml. And this again is the _viewstart.cshtml page is the is a layout that gets fired every time a request is made. And so here the logic says if the request is authenticated, in other words, if they have the .aspx auth cookie specified and it coincides to a key that exists on the server, then it's authenticated, then let's use the regular layout with the menu. If they don't have a validated ASPX auth key or cookie, then let's use the anonymous layout. And for one last time, let's run this and just see how it works. So I'm going to submit the query. JavaScript side happens. Client side happens. And now I'm going to try to log in there. Oh, username field must be a string with a maximum length of 4. No good. So I'm going to try Jed finally, and then Albow. And now we're logged in. And I can navigate for 15 minutes. Or I can navigate now, and it'll automatically log me out after 15 minutes. Or I can manually log out. Another thing we talked about is I can't remember what we were talking about, so whatever. Let's see, global ASAX. We have the map routes in here in the register routes method, and this is where you can tell MVC how to direct a request based on its URL. And that's it.